I need to feel your energy today from start to finish.
Come on, let's go.
Let's crank this thing up. It get real ferocious, I'm trying to tell you.
Turn me up all day.
From the locker room to the broadcast booth, breaking news and the truth behind every take from a real NFL insider and television analyst.
Now get ready for the NFL show where the conversation gets real and the fans get a voice. It's time for the Lake Lewis Jr. Show here on ESPN Radio.
And that's football.
Welcome, everyone, to the Lake Lewis Jr. Show. Appreciate you joining us as always. It's a busy time here in Ashburn, but today it came to an end as far as minicamp. There were 3 days of mandatory minicamp. You heard me on Tuesday. Well, today the team wrapped up their final one, another spirited practice, lots of energy, guys making plays, lots of flags being thrown. We'll get to that. That was kind of intentional and kind of a joke thing there. But before we do that, I want to let everyone know you can call us up today. I will be able to take your calls live from here inside the bubble where I'm sitting right now. All you have to do is call us at 804-327-0888. Once again, 804-327-0888. And as we always do, let's bring in the super producer, Mr. Alan Sandage. What's going on, my friend? How you doing today?
I'm doing good, Lake.
It's good to be back, man. It's good to have you back on, as always. So listen, they were throwing a lot of flags out here today, Alan, a whole lot of flags. But, I think that was part of the plan. They had some NFL refs in there today, and the guys were doing over-the-top celebrations. I mean, rolling on the ground every time they scored or did anything. So I'm okay with that. That's good stuff. That's just to let these guys have some fun in front of their family and friends. There were some people out here today, family and friends were out. So I didn't have a problem with that too much.
Yeah, the refs need practice too. They got a off season and training camp and whatnot. I do know as you guys get closer and closer to the real practices, they do get tighter and tighter with the way they call. And that's how a lot of these guys learn how to make those adjustments in game.
And, when you go back to this practice, again, wide receivers were making some plays. You saw some defensive backs making plays as well. You know that they're going to come back and they're going to be ready to get after it because, OTAs leading up to minicamp. To me, I like to say it's a refresher. It's kind of like what you learned so far. You kind of more glorified walkthrough, so to speak. But when they come back for training camp, that's when it starts. That's when I think you'll know what this football team's going to try to gel and become. And that's when the big boys show up, so to speak. So I don't want to put too much into the last couple of days, except for the fact that the guys are in shape. That's one thing that even Dan Quinn today said himself. They made it a big point for these guys to come in and be in shape, and they were. And now he's challenging these guys because, as you know, Alan, when you leave minicamp, you have 32 to 35 days, depending on when you report back for training camp. So they want to make sure that these guys stay in shape because we know how this season is going to have to start with the schedule that they have. They're going to all have to come back and be in shape and ready to hit the ground running.
Yeah, the margin for error for the Commanders is very, very slim, given their schedule and what people expect to be a tough schedule. And then, it's one of the things we never talk about for the athlete. The reset button doesn't quite hit until you come into that brand new season. And I think OTAs don't get enough love for resetting a lot of these guys' minds, especially after you've had a bad season or, failed to meet expectations. OTAs kind of put you in the mindset that, like, it's a fresh start. It gives you a little bit more hope and kind of reinvigorate some of that competitive energy earlier.
Yeah, folks, right now I'm here in the bubble. It's the BigBear.ai Performance Center, and they've got the new banners all throughout the bubble. It looks like a real bubble finally, because, Alan, over the years, it's a little bit kind of hit or miss. And then it fell, with the old regime, rightfully so, as they fell in themselves. So now everything here is crisp. Everything is looking first class. They let me do the show from in here. I'm the only person in here right now. A couple workers are in here, getting some stuff picked up from the field that they're bringing back in. But I got to tell you, man, just the vibe around this team, it feels a lot like 2024. As far as just new blood, so to speak, in the building, and everyone treated people accordingly. I have that same vibe right now. I think everything's going to be on the up and up when they're coming back. So what are some of the things that from afar, what are some of the things that you want to hear about, or that look forward to seeing as far as minicamp?
Well, I like the sound that it reminds people of 2024, 2025 season with the energy that's in the building. I like the sound of guys have come in shape, because part of the biggest struggle is getting in shape, because if you show up out of shape, then you got to waste 30 to 60 days getting back into shape, and that's 30 to 60 days that if you were already in shape, you could be putting towards learning the playbook or getting acclimated with your teammates and stuff. So, like, I'll be honest with you, everything that I'm hearing from you and reading about sounds to be moving in the right direction. And for me, I'm just waiting to see when the pads get popping, who stands out there, because as we know, things do change when it's time to go.
I think some of the big storylines that are going to develop over the, while we're gone, is naturally Brandon Ayuk. People are freely talking about that now. And, and I don't mean, the brass here. I'm talking about other reporters, other media folks, my colleagues. People are freely talking about that. Some of us had disagreements today. Some said they don't want him. And I'm like, how do you not want a stud player? And they're like, but you don't know if he's healthy. I'm like, trust me, I know. I know he's healthy. You're a 49ers guy. And I know for you, you're saying good riddance, so to speak, as I'm sure a lot of 49ers folks are. But even you have to admit, if this guy is healthy and in his right frame of mind, and if he, comes here, which we all, I've been saying for months he's coming, how does he help this football team if you're going to get the best version of Brandon Ayuk?
If you get the best version of Brandon Ayuk, you get your bona fide number 2, which right now I don't think the Commanders have. Like, that's up in the air. And having a bona fide number 2 means it'll take pressure off of the bona fide number 1, which is Terry McLaurin. And we talked about it before. Like, they don't occupy the same space. You can use them in different ways where Terry can still stretch the field and go vertical. I think Ayuk gives you that consistency underneath. And he doesn't need to get a lot of separation. He's pretty tough catching across the middle, gets yards after the catch. He's willing to block. So when all things are a go, he is an asset. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, at this point with the Niners, it's sour because of the way he's handling the situation, the way the Niners are handling the situation. I did notice an uptick in Niners beat writers and news coming out yesterday that the Niners would be cutting him before training camp. So that seems to be a change of tune from the Niners camp. I don't know, we haven't heard anything from John Lynch or Shanahan directly, but the fact that it's being reported pretty much across the board lets me know that there's probably some validity to that report. And so if the Commanders feel confident that he's coming in with his head on straight and all this is just antics, I'm not concerned about him being healthy enough. I don't see how he's not healthy enough, right? He's been sitting for a while.
Healthy.
He should be healed. Yeah. I don't have an issue with that. And he looks to be in pretty decent shape. Like, he doesn't look like he's gained a ton of weight or anything like that. But it's just the antics for me personally. I'm like, how much of this is for show and how much of this is who Ayuk is right now?
I think it's for show. I think he's trying to do everything he possibly is capable as far as getting under the skin of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. And he wants out. So he's acting out. Is it a good look for him? Probably not, because now you have people asking, does the guy have any kind of mental issues going on? People keep saying he might have CTE. And I'm like, no, he hurt his knee. He didn't take hits to the head. I just think that this is a guy that's acting out. And he's, to people like us who may be on the mature side, of course, it doesn't look good. And that's what some of my colleagues here today were saying when we were talking out on the field, was that they don't want that. And because that's not the standard for the Commanders. The Commanders' standard is great guys in the locker room, off the locker room, family guys. Like I mentioned, I don't know how much I can say about this, but a good portion of this locker room are they're married or they're soon to be married. So it's just a different type of man that's in there. And that's not saying that Brandon Ayuk couldn't fit in there, because he's going to, and I think he's going to do just fine. And Alan, we've never had anyone tell us from afar, from 49ers land, I've never had anyone tell me he was a bad person or a bad locker room guy. Contrary, I've heard from several folks out there who've said he's a great locker room guy. So that's clearly something that I'm sure Adam Peters knows about. So look, real quick, you said that we have Dolphin Dave on the line.
Yeah.
So let's bring him on. And Dave, I do want you to know that you are the first person to ever call me while I'm doing the show live from inside the bubble here at Commander's Park. So you're constantly growing. The legend of Dolphin Dave grows. What's going on, my friend? Okay, so
let me double check and make sure he's on.
Yep. Because I'm not hearing him. So there he is. There he is. What's going on? What's going on, my friend? I can hear you. How you doing?
I'm here.
Yes, we can hear you, but do you hear us? Okay, so Alan, we probably have to get him potted up. Yeah, we can hear you, Dave, but I'm not sure if you can hear us at all.
Let me take care of it.
Okay, cool. So yeah, folks, look, if you do want to call us up like Dolphin Dave, all you have to do is call us at 804-327-0888. You can also text that number as well. So, if you don't want to have your voice heard, you can text us. We'll get that potted up and get you on with us as well. So are we good, Alan? Do we have Dolphin Dave back with us?
Yeah, let's try again.
So we don't. All right, so let's do it. Can you hear me, Dolphin Dave?
Yeah, I could hear you guys talking before, but you guys couldn't hear me.
Yep, so we got you now. So what's going on, my friend? Good to see you. Good to have you back on.
It's good. Hey, you know what? I missed being on the show, and real quick, I want to tell you something. From everything I hear about Redskins Park, and I think I'm going to be totally wrong about your quarterback, because I've heard nothing but great things coming out. Here's the thing about Brandon Ayuk. I will just caution you, and I don't know if you'll agree with me or not. He does have maybe a locker room problem, and I'm not sure in the situation where you guys are still building in Washington, because I think you've got a very good chance to take the NFC East this year. I think that you cannot have any kind of troublemaker in that locker room. And I mean that with all the love and respect, but you don't have established veterans that are going to take him, like the linebacker for Baltimore back in the day, where if you mouthed off, you didn't do your job, he put you up against a wall. All right, so you know what? Right. I don't know if you have that in Washington, but you don't need any kind of distraction. You have a young quarterback that's coming off of an injury. Man, he is doing really well from what I hear. And if he continues doing well, and you continue, maybe you'll get a Brandon Ayuk that someone can go ahead, put their arm around him. We don't do that. You're just going to play football. But I just want to let you know that. And I like to say go Dolphins, but I think if we win 5 this year, we're going to be very happy to do that.
All right, good stuff, my friend. And you know what, Alan, I think Dave, he hit on a couple things that I agree with him in the sense that, again, this standard that is the Commanders now, no locker room rifts or any problems, none of the sorts. It's all X's and O's. It's all football. There's no more black clouds covering this part of Ashburn, Virginia, where I sit. It's different. But I will say this: there's some pressure on this group now, to kind of get back to where you were in 2024. You remember 2024, they made the run to get to the NFC Championship game well ahead of schedule, but that's the schedule that you set. That's the precedence that you set. You had the letdown last year because of a lot of the injuries. The bug caught up with this team, and they never got a chance to get going. You had the Terry McLaurin holdout. You had a lot of different factors. But now, with the talent base that they have and the fact that you have a healthy Jaden Daniels, who's a franchise caliber quarterback, you want to get back to that. You want to get back to the standard that you set 2 years ago. And so for me, I'm going to say whenever you can bring in a player of a Brandon Ayuk stature to go along with Terry McLaurin, to go along with Antonio Williams, to go along with some of these younger guys, but more importantly, to play with his college teammates and Jaden Daniels and then also Rachaad White, I think you pull the plug on that. I think you give it a shot and you give it an opportunity. And obviously, you make that contract for this year an incentive-laden contract, so that if you are getting locker room issues, if you're getting anything that's of a negative brand, then you part ways with this kid after the year, which I don't think that they're hoping is the case. I think that they feel like they're going to get a football player that's hungry, that wants to prove people wrong, to prove to the naysayers that he's healthy, and also make a run with a good football team that could become a Super Bowl caliber team if you're getting the best version of him. So, Alan, let's take a break here. And when we come back, we'll pick this back up, because I do want to get your thoughts on that part of it. As you said, if you're getting a healthy version of him and a guy that's not a malcontent, you've got to run with him. You've got to give this a shot, because it could put Washington at the top of the heap as far as the NFC, potentially. So we'll take a break, and we'll come back right here. I'm live from here inside the bubble at the BigBear.ai Performance Center here at Commanders Park. You're listening to the Lake Lewis Jr. Show right here on ESPN Radio. Welcome back, everyone, to the Lake Lewis Jr. Show. I am literally live right now from inside the bubble at the BigBear.ai Performance Center here at Commanders Park. And Alan, before we went to break, we were talking about Brandon Ayuk and the situation with him. And, I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to him joining the Commanders. I really am, because I just think that sometimes on teams where you have just a bunch of great guys, and I'm not saying that Brandon Ayuk is a bad person. I'm not saying that. But I do think sometimes you need characters. When you look at some of the great teams over the years, all the great teams, all of them had a character or two. I mean, you look at your 49ers teams that were winning Super Bowls back with Joe Montana and them were in the building. They had some characters. They had the Charles Haley, who's nearby Charles Haley. You had guys that would be just a little different, and I think sometimes you need that. What do you think?
Charles was the definition of different for sure. He might have been if we need to put it on a spectrum, I think Charles is not necessarily what we need to inject into the Commanders locker room or somebody of that nature. But yeah, you're right.
But he was a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah, no, you need personality, and we can handle different when it comes with production for sure, right? Like it's the Dennis Rodman thing, right? Like if he's in Vegas, let him be in Vegas. As long as he shows up for the game and gets you 20 rebounds, we're cool with that, right? I think that's what a lot of people would say. I wanted to more so revisit what you said and what you've been bringing up about the 2024 season and the vibes and stuff. Like we need to make sure we put it into perspective too. Success for the Commanders in 2026 won't necessarily look like 2024, even if they make the playoffs, because I feel like the path to the playoffs for the Commanders this year has to go through them winning the division. I think that's the easiest path for them. I don't know if they want to be in a wild card battle with potentially like a Lions team, a Bears team, and even
Rams,
the Rams
49ers,
or Niners. Yeah, like you want to be comfortable, right? Like you want to be able to look down at these week 16, 17 games and be able to chill a little bit, right? You want to rest some guys and be ready to go come postseason. You don't want to have to battle and grind all the way through the entire season, especially if you've had a rough and tough schedule like many are predicting with the Commanders. So I'm optimistic that adding somebody like Ayuk would be beneficial. But the more we talk about it, the more we're going to keep saying if. So it just all depends, on whether or not he's got his head on straight.
All right, so let me just ask you this, and then we'll move on from this subject and not have to talk about this anymore until we're at an official presser. Okay. Brandon Ayuk or Stephon Diggs? One more time. Who would you take?
Yeah, I'm still taking Ayuk as they stand right now. If this was pre-injury, it'd be Stephon Diggs. But I mean, Diggs is going to be a solid option.
But Ayuk is coming off an injury, though.
Yeah, but he's not. I can't see him moving like I saw Diggs move last year, right? Like it just wasn't all there. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't what we expected, and it's not what you need. He looked a little stiff. He didn't have any kind of burst whatsoever. So if Ayuk can show me a little bit of burst, then I'm cool with it, man. I can't deal with the Diggs. It's just a possession receiver at this point in his career. And the Commanders need a yak guy. They need somebody that when they get the ball in their hands, they can get extra yardage. It can't just all be Terry getting, 30-yard bombs and 40-yard bombs. Like, you got to have somebody that can catch the ball and scoot a little bit, complementary to what we expect Williams to be able to do.
So, excuse me, I think that one of the things that is really jumping out to me, and it's been on display for everyone, it's not just me, but this team has depth now. I see depth across the board. And when you think of them and you think of the division that they're in, what's the one thing that always would jump out about the Philadelphia Eagles? It was the depth that they had. They were loaded. It was almost like they could afford a free agent to feel highly of himself to the point where, okay, you want that kind of money? See ya. Look at A.J. Brown. They traded him because A.J. Brown felt that highly of himself that he should be a number one and he should be getting the ball at all times. I don't have a problem with that mentality at all. You want guys to be dogs. But they were like, is the, ROI worth the headache, the reading books on the sidelines and things like that. So they moved on from them. That's where Washington is trying to get to. They're trying to get to a point where they have second tier or maybe even third tier guys that are waiting for their opportunity to shine. And the 49ers retool every year. Your team retools every year. Isn't that what all the great teams have in common? They have depth.
The Niners don't have depth like that, in my opinion. We are fortunate.
Not anymore.
Yeah, we are fortunate to have durability in some spots. But like in the Commanders case, like having the depth is great, but what would hurt the Commanders is a lot of your depth is not guys that you can depend on every single week. So you still want to support them by having at least two guys in front that on a weekly basis you're going to get production out of them, because when Terry has the inevitable bad game or if Ayuk came and had the inevitable bad game, I think you can look down your roster and see a couple guys like a Luke McCaffrey or something that can step up and fill in some voids. De'Ami Brown can fill in some voids. But if you're looking for them guys to fill in a void every single week, I think that's when you would find yourself a little bit frustrated by the production of some of these guys, because you're asking them to do things that honestly they just haven't been able to do in their careers. Essentially, like the basketball concept, we want to keep our role players as role players. We don't want to inject them as everyday starters with starter minutes unless it's an absolute necessity through injury.
But isn't that why the Brandon Ayuks of the world are the type of players that you need? Because you can't afford to go into a season unless you know what you've seen already in that wide receiver room is enough. And I can tell you, I'm impressed with the wide receiver room. Van Jefferson looks like he's giving them some speed. Obviously De'Ami Brown is back. And then you have Treylon Burks. You have Luke McCaffrey, who made a couple of nice plays today. And let's not forget the tight end room. The tight end room with Chig Okonkwo, obviously he's a big tight end that can be spread wide. You could be using him as a receiver. Ben Sinnott looks like he's found it. He looks good right now. It looks like he's the light bulb's on and he's making plays. So to me, you might have enough, but you surely have to know if it is enough before training camp and preseason were to end, because if not, you can't afford to have just one guy. And if he were to go down, Terry's 1 year later in age, he looks to be in the best shape I've ever seen him, and he looks that good right now. But still, if he were to have soft tissue injury or anything and be out, you wouldn't be saying this about that wide receiver room regardless. So these are the things that you have to shore up. One area where I will say has really been impressive, the offensive line. And, I didn't really want to say that to you on the air.
Well, I'm not going to lie.
I
was doing battle with people about the Commanders line last year. I'm not impressed by anything you say about it, because that's my expectation. They're one of the better offensive lines in the league. They played well last year. It didn't start that way, but once they got into their groove about probably week 6 or 7, they were doing just fine. Held their ground against a lot of really good teams, a lot of deep rotations of edge rushers and pass rushers and different concepts and stuff. Like, they handle things well. And that actually is a unit that you can look down the line and get to like the 7th or 8th person there and get production from them when you put them in the offense. That's part of why when they went to their little jumbo set and they had like an extra tight end / tackle, it looked good. It was fine. You can add that guy in and still get production. So if anything, I'm happy to hear that you say that, and I hope that others catch on. I'm not saying they're the best O-line in the league, but they're doing a whole lot better than what people give them credit for.
Yeah, and, on top of that, one of the young players that's really stood out, that looks like he's back is Brandon Coleman. Matter of fact, I'm going to go out on record in my prediction, my opinion. I think Brandon Coleman's going to supplant Chris Paul to get that job back. And that's what you want. I'm not saying you necessarily want him to supplant the starter from last year, but what you want is if you have him starting and then Chris Paul starts last year and then you can go back to Brandon this year, what that's telling you is that you've had supreme competition at that spot, at that left guard spot. And that's all you want. If you're going to be a good team, you have to have that kind of competition. But I'm telling you right now, Alan, I think Brandon's going to be the starter opening day.
Yeah, I like Brandon Coleman a little bit more than I like Chris Paul at guard. I think his feet are smooth. I don't think he's like heavy on the forward leaning, which you need balance, which is something we don't talk about often when we're talking about linemen. But
he's a former tackle too.
Yeah,
so what you're saying makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so I think that transition is fine, and his size is perfect too when you're talking about trying to be more enforcing offensive line. I'm not knocking Chris Paul. My preference would have been Coleman, so I'm happy to hear that he's taking a step forward. And I think that's what the Commanders were looking for from him anyway, right? It's like for him to kind of take charge and end up in a spot where they have no choice but to start him.
Yeah, and this is good stuff. And again, this is one of those guys, when people talk about Adam Peters and his draft classes, they always say, well, outside of Jaden and maybe Mikey, that first year, what has this draft class done? Well, I got to tell you, that draft class helped that team get to the conference championship game. Last year, did they look like Superman? No, but not too many people on the roster did, let alone that draft class. So I think this is the year. And Alan, you've covered this sport for a long time. You've played. You understand that. I try to get this through to fans a lot. Everyone doesn't come in the NFL or any professional league, but we're talking obviously NFL. Everyone doesn't come in and hit the ground running like Jaden Daniels did, where they have a Rookie of the Year campaign. No, some guys it takes 2-3 years. Hell, we've even seen you and I. Some guys it may take 4 years.
It took Geno 15.
Come on, man. See, I was wondering when you was going to get somebody today. I was wondering when a body was going to get caught. I was wondering, and here it is. It's Geno Smith. He said it took him 15 years. My gosh. But no, seriously, it takes a lot of guys time to adapt to the speed of the game, to get used to it. Yeah. And sometimes, let's be honest, when you're going in and you're playing for bad teams, sometimes it takes you several years because you're always getting new coaches. Yeah. And I think in the situation here in this building, these guys have had kind of the same coaches, but then again, they haven't, because now you have a new defensive coordinator. That's a different look for you, what you're going up against in practice if you're on the offense, let alone if you're on defense, is a totally different look. But I say that because now they have David Blau. I know David Blau, played for Cliff Kingsbury, coached under him, was here for the past 3 seasons. But he's putting his own stamp on this thing with Jaden being under center. So sometimes it takes guys a little bit more time than it does others. That doesn't mean you're not a good football player if it takes you 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, the NFL doesn't have a talent evaluation issue. They have a talent application issue. Like, a lot of these guys don't know how to use these guys. Like we see it all the time. Like you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, man. Like, let him free, right? If you got a burner, let him loose, man. Don't have him in a triple option offense, which I'm exaggerating, but don't have him in a run heavy offense. And he's a guy that can stretch the field. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And so I think the modern NFL is more into conforming to the talent that they have. So we get these guys who typically would have been written off. Like, we're going to see more Sam Darnolds, more Baker Mayfields, more Geno Smiths, more second acts on guys that, in years past have been written off, because they're getting involved with coordinators and coaches who have a more open mind to trying to utilize their assets. Because getting to the league in and of itself is an accomplishment. You don't get drafted if you truly don't have the talent. Now, how far can that talent take you? That's up to you, your work ethic, and the coaching, right? But everybody who gets drafted, even Mr. Irrelevance, when they get drafted, somebody looked at you and thought that you had the talent to play at the National Football League. So you earned your spot just by getting drafted. But like, again, the application of your talent sometimes just doesn't work in your favor. So I get what you're saying. And I will say that I think the one thing, listening to Blau and your defensive coordinator, the one thing that stood out to me when those guys were talking and doing their pressers, it sounded like they understood the talent that they had around them and were just hell-bent on finding a way to make that talent the best that it can possibly be. When you maximize talent, you get the Seattle Seahawks, right? When you maximize talent, you get that defense that the Eagles have for the last couple of years under Vic Fangio, right? Like, that's what you get when you maximize talent. When you can look at a team and say, you can take this out and put this in, it doesn't matter. They're still going to be good. They're still going to be great. And so I'm excited to see if maybe that kind of harmony will be in DC this year.
Yeah, me too. I think that's what a lot of fans are expecting. So we're going to take a break. And when we come back, I got some great stuff for you, Alan. I'm going to put you on the spot. That rapid fire is coming up. The fans love it. The players loved it. Well, I'm going to hit you with some rapid fire stuff today and see if you know your stuff. So you got to find out, see what Alan thinks when you come back right here on the Lake Lewis Jr. Show. We're live right now at the BigBear.ai Performance Center, otherwise known as Commander's Park. I'm here. Today was the final day of minicamp, mandatory minicamp. Everyone was here, so no side stories, no black clouds over the building like we said earlier. Everyone was out here and everyone was attentive. Everyone was getting it in. But what I want to do right now is I want to do some rapid fire stuff for Alan. Alan is a professed film buff. He's a guy that feels like he knows everything. And sometimes, you know, you want to catch him off guard a little bit. So he had no idea that I was going to ask him these rapid fire questions that I
didn't even have any
fellas.
idea that you were going to be up there. I'm completely out the loop.
I mean, well, you know, whenever there's practice, I'm here, you know. So
yeah, I know we talked about it, but for some reason it slipped my mind until you called me at like 2:40. It was like, hey, I need that.
Hey
link.
man, like that, like I need my link. I need to log in. So yeah, you know, and today they had like I said earlier, they had a barbecue for the players and staff and things like that. And you know, so no Trent today. Obviously, we have him on Tuesdays. He will be calling in, you know, next Tuesday because he'll be back home in Alabama. And I think I'm supposed to be heading down that way, myself and Janine, to support one of his big football camps. So we'll see. You know, it's just that, you know, your boy in Alabama. So not sure if you've ever been to Alabama. There's some great parts of Alabama. But you know, let me not do that because I think there's some not so great parts.
I have been in Alabama for the Senior Bowl and Tuscaloosa. I was there for Texas. But
everything don't look like that down there.
For sure. I was there for Texas versus Bama when Texas beat them. Yeah.
Okay, so we're not gonna do that because we show love to everybody. You know, as they say, Lake love the kids, Lake loves Alabama, so it's all good. All right, and that's Trent's home state. So obviously, they do the rapid fire and they love it. So let's get into it with Alan. Rapid fire questions here on the Lake Lewis Jr. Show. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna throw a couple out at you, Alan, and you got to pick one or the other, and it's got to be quick. It can't be you got to think it through for 10, 15 seconds. You got to give me the answer. So first thing that comes to your mind. All right. So first rapid fire question: Terry McLaurin or Jaden Daniels?
Jaden Daniels.
Okay, that was real simple, and you can elaborate on that. After you give me the answer.
Positional value of the quarterback. Give me the quarterback over the receiver any day of the week, and especially modern football.
Any day, all day.
Yeah, that's just what it is.
All right, so see, you thought I was going to throw softballs like this and lob them up to you. Nah, it's going to get harder now. Dan Quinn, Adam Peters.
I would go Adam Peters. I'm keeping Adam Peters. I'm firing Dan Quinn if it came down to it. I don't want to. But Adam Peters has done enough in the draft, the last couple drafts for me, and he's gotten you guys in a position where you're not in cap hell, which I think is something that should be valued.
All right. So what about Coach Quinn though? Coach Quinn brought the culture in. He's established that culture.
He did. And,
so how
Adam Peters hired him. So I'm going with the guy that
he
hired him.
did. Yes, he did.
Going with the guy that hired him.
Okay, that's not bad. That was a slick way to get out of that. All right. So Johnny Newton, Javon Kinlaw.
Oh, Johnny Newton, man. I was high on Johnny Newton when he came out. Don't tell Kinlaw, though. Don't tell Kinlaw. Because Kinlaw.
I'm going to tell him. I'll say you don't want him.
Kinlaw really will pull up on me. He is a
with the shades on.
He is a
with the shades on.
Very serious guy. So people know exactly what you see on TV is exactly how he is. He is very serious.
Okay.
But
okay.
The thing about Kinlaw, I love how Kinlaw moves the pocket. I have no problem with his athleticism. I think it's underrated a little bit. Heck, they put him out wide a little bit last year and let him rush the quarterback from the edge. I think some people didn't pay attention to that, but they did have him out a little wider than what most people are used to seeing him. But Newton has the versatility, and I think when you find an interior defensive lineman who can generate not just pressure, but actually turn that pressure into production of like sacks, you've got something, man. There's not a lot of Jalen Carter production, not a lot of Aaron Donald production, not a lot of like Chris Jones when he's in the interior area. Like there's just not a lot of guys who can get production from interior defensive line anymore. So when you find a guy that's that special in both the run and the pass, you kind of have to value that.
Okay. All right. Not bad. All right. So the next rapid fire, we're going to go Bill Krosky-Merritt or Rashad White.
Well, I'm a big Bill Krosky-Merritt fan, so Bill. Even though I don't think people are as high on Bill as I am. I think Bill has the bigger upside because Bill's a home run guy. Like Bill gets free, Bill's not getting run down by pretty much anybody in the league. And he showed that a couple times last year, and I'm hoping to see more of that this year with this new emphasis of running the ball more and having Jaden under center. I think, especially if you guys develop the run and you get play actions in, you get people guessing a little bit more. Everybody should benefit from the vision of this new system if it all works.
Okay. Well, look, let's do this. Let's take one more commercial break. And then when we come back, we'll have our final segment. I'm here inside the bubble, inside the BigBear.ai Performance Center. So when we come back, we'll have a couple more rapid fires, and then we'll take any questions or comments you have, any emails. Remember, you can reach back out to us at 804-327-0888. You're listening to the Lake Lewis Jr. Show right here live on ESPN Radio. Adidas. That's a great song, Alan. I appreciate you bringing us back in. You can't beat that kind of stuff. So that's not bad at all right there. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So let's do this. Let's keep this rapid fire stuff going for you. I want to see if you actually, if you actually know your stuff here. We're gonna move on from just the Commanders, but we're gonna go NFL now. All right. So I'm gonna start it off with you. I'm gonna lob one up for you, but we're gonna see what you're gonna say here. So I'm gonna say 49ers, Rams, or Seahawks. All right.
For this season?
For this season.
That one is tough. I'm going to say Niners, and I'll just, not because I'm a fan, but just because of the stability with the Niners and the consistency. I don't know how Darnold's going to look with the new OC. I don't know the situation with Puka Nacua, and then the age of Devontae and Stafford is something that I think
sound like you hedging a little bit right now.
People need to understand there's the only team with no real questions and concerns in that division is the Cardinals. We all know the Cardinals are going to be terrible. Everybody else has questions and concerns, right? Like the Niners don't have a ton of depth. The Rams are old and just a Matthew Stafford blindside hit away from an injury that could derail their entire season. And the Seahawks have lost their brain trust, So especially on the offensive side of the ball. So I would rather it be Niners or Rams. I don't see the Seahawks repeating. That would take a lot.
Okay, and our good friend Jack Fitzpatrick probably just fell on the floor. So
no,
please check on Jack Fitzpatrick.
I think Jack's pretty pessimistic on the idea of them doing it too, but I think he would go Rams.
I don't believe that. You know what that is. You understand that's just him. He did that last year. All last year, Jack Fitzpatrick was literally giving himself out clauses, basically. So if it didn't happen, he wouldn't be let
That's
down.
what any
He
good
got a
fan
Super
does.
Bowl. I know, but come on, man. You know Jack deep down thinks Seattle's going to run it back. He thinks they're going back. I know he does. So, all right. So let's keep it going before Jack comes into the studio, calls you up, or he gets upset. All right. So let's go. All right. So the next one, Miami Dolphins, New York Jets. And I did that intentionally because those teams could be really bad.
Dolphins. I'm not a big.
Ooh, you can take the Dolphins before the Jets?
Yeah, for being worse. I think the Dolphins will be worse than the Jets. I do too.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't like Malik Willis that much, and I'm not going to blame Malik Willis for what's about to happen to the Dolphins. But like they have no money to pay star players. And I hate to say it like this, but let's be honest. To everybody listen to my voice, when a team has a graphic up and the first player on the graphic is a running back, tells you a lot about the talent that they have. Unless that running back Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry or even Christian McCaffrey, like you got to be elite. They don't have that, so yeah, it's gonna be a long season for them. Not only that, but they are in cap hell because they've got to pay 50-something million this year in dead cap and 40-something million in dead cap next year. It's gonna be rough for them.
It's going to be extremely rough for them. All right, so let's do this. Let's go. Here we go. Cowboys, Commanders.
Cowboys or Commanders? I'm going with the Commanders. I think the contract situation with Pickens is going to rear its ugly head at some point. I know it all seems rosy and sunshine and rainbows right now, and he signed his tag, I think, and he's at their OTAs and all that good stuff. But I feel like as we get further into this season, there's going to be some drama out that camp.
All right, so let's go. Andy Reid or Mike McDonald.
Man, we had this conversation.
That was good. That was good.
We had this conversation before. I hate to put this on Andy, but I think our guy is. I think it is the signs are there that the game's passing him by a little. So I'm gonna go with McDonald, and it's not a legacy thing. I'm thinking of this year. Currently, I see more upside and adjustments and flexibility out of McDonald his couple seasons with the Seahawks than I'm seeing out of Andy Reid right now. That offense has been bad for a long time and it just hasn't gotten talked about because it's Patrick Mahomes and it's Andy Reid. But I go back to a season ago, there was in October, he didn't score a passing touchdown in 3 weeks and they still won games. They win in Kansas City despite the stagnant, bland offense. And I think that's a testament to the defensive coordinator and a testament to the players on the defensive side of the ball and just Patty knowing how to win despite, having some bumps in the road. But we haven't seen innovative Andy in a long time, and that concerns me.
A long
Andy's roots.
time.
Andy's roots are like my coaching. If I could have a coaching path, right? If I could be any coach and take their path to where they are now, it would be Andy Reid. Right. He's worked with all the greats. He's trained under all the greats. I love watching the clips of Mike Holmgren, just laying into him. Mike Holmgren was under Bill Walsh and all these other greats. Like he's had so much poured into him as a coach. I could never dream a time in Andy Reid's career where he would just look plain. And he has looked plain for 2 seasons. So I think, his best fastball is behind him and he's more of a changeup guy right now and can still get it out. But, in this age where people are doing, their launch angles, it gets you hit pretty hard. So he's like a 4 ERA guy if I'm going across sports. And I just think his best days are behind him. I would love to be wrong because he's an all-time great. He's going to go down as probably the all-time great when it's all said and done with the wins.
All right, so I got a good one for you now. This one will definitely test you. All right, so I'm going to go Jacoby Brissett or Geno Smith, since you threw Geno under the bus way back when we started the show.
Oh, my gosh. Pass, man. Can I put my running back at quarterback? I say this with all due respect. I could not believe that we had headlines where Jacoby Brissett was holding out. Like, what a world, man!
Yeah,
in 2026, man. Like, shout out to him for having the ability. To have the coin. Shout out to him for having the ability to hold the team hostage in 2026. Because ain't no way, man. Ain't no way. But give me Jacoby Brissett. That's not good. Give me Jacoby Brissett.
Okay. All right. And here we go. This one's going to be tough. You know, I think right now we heard Coach Quinn talk about this a little bit earlier today after practice here in Ashburn. So Drew Stevens or Jake Moody.
I am not a Moody fan, and give me some. That's PTSD from being an honor. I'm just telling you, I didn't like it when you guys picked them up last year. I'm pretty sure everybody in the press box actually heard me when he came on the field, and I said, "That guy." What?
I remember that. Yeah, I do remember that vividly. Yes.
Yeah, clearly, nobody asked me my opinion.
I know, but you got the young guy with the booming leg. But you know, right now today they both were 6 for 6, and they said that we can say that. So I'm letting people know
that's cool.
It's ramping up. I mean, it is. But the ball just leaves Stevens' foot a little differently. Not a little differently, a lot differently. It was like, move out the way.
I tell you what, first to miss 3 kicks is the one that I'm cutting. And I'm pretty sure if you did 10, if you gave 10 kicks around kick 4, 5, and 6, Moody's going to start missing. So
wait. So is it 3 out of all of 10, or is it
I'm gonna give
3
in
a row?
I'm gonna give them both 10 kicks, and the first one to miss 3. It don't got to be in a row, but I'm pretty sure Moody's is gonna be in a row because that's how he is, man. He's very. You remember when Mason Crosby missed his first kick and he couldn't make a kick after that? That's Jake Moody, man. Like he was great. He got drafted high. He was awesome in Michigan. And then one day he missed the kick and he could never get it back. Mason Crosby never missed in Lambeau. And then he finally missed and he could never get it back. That's how I feel Moody is.
Man, my friend, I'm going to have you do this show with rosary beads. We need you to be nicer than what you've been.
Just I
appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it. Wrapping up here live from BigBear.ai Performance Center. We had a great week up here. Commanders have broken, and they will be back for training camp in a couple weeks. So appreciate you listening to us. Have a great evening. You're listening to the Lake Lewis Jr. Show right here live on ESPN Radio.